Academic pressure is such an important topic among most students in higher education nowadays. There's so much pressure on students. Some of the pressure comes from external factors, and some of the pressure students put this pressure on themselves. Nevertheless, it's still academic pressure, and it has a negative impact on students' experience during their time in university. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to cope with academic pressure. In a recent study that we carried out, we found that 81% of students we surveyed sought support to do with academic related issues and health related issues. So it's academic and health related issues amounted to 81% of the students we surveyed. And then we tried to break it down to actually find out of these how many or what proportion of the sample sought academic support and what proportion of the sample sought health related support. What we found was 55% of our sample sought academic support and 26% sought health related support. So you can see it's almost half of those who sought academic support sought health related support, which implies that academic support is probably more important, particularly when it comes to seeking help to the students that we surveyed. And that can be generalized as well, probably across the student population, that perhaps it's academic related issues that students are mostly concerned about. Now, let's move on to probably or step back and begin with the definition of academic pressure. Now, before we look at academic pressure, we want to understand what the word pressure means. According to the Cambridge Dictionary 2019, pressure is a difficult situation that makes you feel worried or unhappy. Pressure is a difficult situation that makes you feel worried or unhappy. That is why academic pressure is something that we need to tackle, because from this particular definition, you can actually deduce that academic pressure, therefore, is a difficult academic situation that makes you feel worried or unhappy, or it is a difficult situation emanating from an academic aspect or aspects of a student's life in university that makes them feel worried or unhappy. So that's why we need to deal with it, because we do not want students to be worried. If a student is worried, when you are worried, it's difficult to function. When you are worried, it's difficult to actually focus on what you are in university for. You begin to worry about everything. You begin to worry about yourself. You begin to doubt yourself, whether or not you are capable of undertaking a degree program. Now, let's look at the sources of academic pressure. There are a range of sources of academic pressure, and if you read the literature on pressure, stress, distress, anxiety, you find out that there are so many factors affecting these adverse feelings. But the main ones that affect students' welfare when it comes to academic pressure, the main sources of academic pressure are as follows. First, we have thinking that academic work is difficult. Now, this is a thought that grips many students when they begin a course, and not just those who are beginning a course at the beginning of the year or the first year of their course, but it carries on even into the second year to the third year or the fourth year, depending on how long your program is. Just that thought of this program I've embarked on may be just above what I'm capable of undertaking, right? That thought hinders students from making progress. The second source of pressure is fear of failure. Students are worried about, what if I fail? And the biggest problem about this feeling of failure is students tend to narrowly define failure. Students tend to just focus on failing in assignment, right? An assignment is just a single part. It's just one small part of what it means to be a student in university, right? And even failing one assignment is not the end of the world. You may be succeeding in other aspects of your academic life in that particular university. And it is also very rare that students fail all assignments. But still, students just fear. What if I fail? What if I don't get the grade that I want to get? Even some students who have such high expectations of themselves, they define failure differently to what it means in the context of assessment of an academic piece of work. For example, here in England, failing on most programs is getting below 40%. Now, for some students who are aiming high, who are aiming 60, a 2-1, who are aiming a first class, attaining a grade that's lower than first class, even though it doesn't fail in the true sense of failing, they still perceive that as failure, which is unfair to them, which is also a problem because it hinders those students from celebrating the positives that are going on here in their journey as students. But it does happen to most students. They are so afraid of failure, they actually get to the point of sometimes breaking down. Why? Because they fear that they may fail. The other point or source of stress, which is related to the fear of failure, is setting unrealistic academic targets. When you set targets, remember they are just that. They are targets. And most of the time when you set those targets, you are not aware of what is likely to happen down the road in your personal life that may hinder you from attaining that target. Most of the time, students do set targets based on their ambition, on an ideal situation. But life is not an ideal. Life is real. And when you set unrealistic targets, you're stretching yourself so much that any further pressure will lead to you snapping. And that's not good for your well-being. Targets, yes, it's important that you set targets, but those targets must take into account other factors that may actually contribute towards either the meeting of those targets or falling short of meeting those targets. And a realization and rationalization that even if you fall short of your targets, it's not the end of the world. Life is more than just education. Education is more than just grades. There's more to life. It's a complicated, intricate juggernaut of reality. What this thing we call life, this thing we call education. Narrowing it down to just grades is not a good thing. It's not ideal. It's not going to serve you well, because life is more than just education, and education is more than just the grades. Set targets, but be realistic. Most students, when they set targets, they set the highest possible target they can get. And when you set the highest possible target you can get, the chances of you falling short of that target are very, very high. And when you fall short, you are running the risk of getting disappointed. When you set targets that are so high, you are running the risk of not meeting those targets, just setting yourself up not to meet the targets and getting disappointed, and sometimes affecting your mental health or your welfare or your well-being as a student. Targets, yes, but they have to be realistic. And another source of stress, which is related to the fear of failure, setting unrealistic academic targets, is overemphasis on assignment outcomes, overemphasis on the grade. If university was all about grades, it wouldn't be worth it. Why would you pay so much money just for the grade? There is more to being a student than just the grade. In actual fact, the process before the grade is more important. The process is more important than the grade you'll get. The grade is an outcome, is an inevitability if you participate in the process and participate in a way which shows engagement, a way which shows you are really into it, you're immersing yourself in the process of learning. Learning is more important than the grade. The grade takes care of itself. But most students are so obsessed, it becomes a preoccupation. The grade. No. Yes, grades are important, but they're not the most important thing in your life as a student. There's more to life than just the grade. There's more to being a student than just the grade. I've been a student myself. Sometimes I have achieved grades which I did not expect, which were higher than those I expected. And at other times, I have got grades which were actually consistent with my individual expectations. And there are times when I got grades which were lower than what I expected. It doesn't matter. I'm here, I'm happy. You can still be happy in spite of the grade you get. The fifth thing that causes most students academic pressure is not dealing well with those unexpected grades. Some students have it in their minds that I didn't get this grade because the lecturer does not like me. Other students think, oh, I didn't get this grade because the lecturer did not understand my work, not because the work fell short, but the lecturer or the marker who assessed my work did not understand my style, did not understand the content I was trying to put forward, the arguments I was trying to put forward. It's people with an external locus of control. They blame everything else, right? It's someone else's fault. Sometimes it's no one's fault. It's not your fault. It's not the marker's fault. It's just the grade that your essay deserves. Now, there must be a distinction between you and your assignment. When a piece of work is marked, it is that piece of work that is being marked. It's not you. It's not personal. It's actually an error if your feedback comes addressing you. You have failed to do this. You have failed. Actually, it must be worded in the following way or along the following lines. This work has achieved A, B, C, D. However, this work falls short in the following ways. It is the work that you submitted. It's not you. The grade you get should not define you. It happens. A piece of work may fall short in certain aspects. It may be strong in other aspects. It's part of the learning process. Take assignment. Grades as part of the learning process. They are not the end in themselves. But not dealing with unexpected grades well has an impact that is negative on students. And then the next source of pressure for students is inability to focus on individual goals. A friend is getting high grades, getting 60s, getting 70s, getting 80s, and your grades seem to be lower than those of your friend. I'm using the word seem advisedly, because you may get 55 and your friend may get 60. It doesn't mean that your work is worse than theirs. It's just a grade. What's important is, what are you getting out of that assignment? We need to move. You need to move beyond assessment of learning. It must be assessment for learning. If you learn so much out of an assignment that got 55, if you learn more than the person who got 60, actually you are the winner. It's how you look at these grades that has an impact on how you will feel. Remember, it's a feeling. It's not reality. It's how you feel. And then the next thing that causes students so much academic pressure is time management. Maybe before we move to time management issues, let's go back to inability to focus on individual goals. You are an individual. You have your own goals. Do not align your goals to someone else's. It's you. The certificate, the degree will come with your name on it. It's nothing to do with anyone else. It's got to be you. Focus on yourself and say, I am the focus of attention here. Yes, other people may get these grades, those grades, and those grades. I'm happy with what I got because it reflects my effort. Celebrate that effort. Celebrate the fact that you are actually going through this process called education. I didn't come top of my class when I did my several degrees. Each time I've got 4 degrees. And in each instance, I went through my degree experiences. Not top of my class. It is not an issue to me to be top of my class. I wasn't in competition with anyone. I had my individual goals. I worked hard. In certain instances, I fell short. In other instances, I actually met the targets. And in even other instances, I got higher than the grades that I had targeted as my grades. But in the end, I was happy with the outcome, because this education process was not shaped only by the grades. I tried to make the most of my university experiences, and that has shaped my professional life more than the grades. It's individual targets. Do not compare yourself to the next person. We all have different targets. We have different pressures in our lives. We have different things we are dealing with. You are dealing with different things. And all those things that you're dealing with may have an impact on whether or not you meet a grade you consider ideal for you. But it's only an ideal grade. But that's not the end of life. And then we have time management issues, which I was going to rush into. Sometimes students wait too long before they do what they are supposed to do. And when they get to doing those things they are supposed to do, they are rushed under so much pressure. And then the quality is affected, because if you do something in the last minute, the chances of you getting your quality wrong are very, very high. The chances of you being under pressure are high. And when you are under pressure, pressure is good if it is in moderation. But when it is in excess, it can have an adverse effect on your well-being. Do things in time. Most students who experience academic pressure are also last-minuters. They do their things last minute, the homework last minute, the reading last minute, revising for their exam last minute, working on their assignment last minute. You're putting yourself under so much pressure. Start doing your work in time. The last key source of academic pressure is that lack of balance between personal and academic life. Now, the two are interrelated. You do not get your personal life right, things will go wrong in your academic life, right? Sometimes you don't get your academic priorities right, things could go wrong in your personal life. The two are interrelated. The influence between the two is bidirectional. In other words, the influence goes both ways. Okay? Lack of balance in personal and academic life, you have to have that balance. There's nothing wrong with you enjoying your life, your personal life, while you are embarking on your degree. If you become ultra academic, you are setting yourself up to experience academic pressure, which may lead to stress, which may then lead to depression and anxiety. Balance your academic and personal life. But for you to be able to be balanced, you must get your time management right. People who do not have good time management, if you look closely, if you scratch beneath the surface, you find out that time management is an issue. That's why there is no balance between the academic and the personal. You need to make sure you get the balance right. There's nothing wrong with study, but after a certain amount of study, you also need to remember that you are not only a student, you are a human being. A human being must enjoy life. Enjoy your life, but in moderation, because you need to maintain balance. If you enjoy life too much at the expense of academia, then your academic life suffers. If you get into too much academic study, more than you focus on your personal life, then your personal life may suffer. And that may pull you apart. And that may cause strain within you, and tension, and stress, depression, anxiety. Get the balance right. But for you to be able to get that balance right, time management must be of the essence. Now let's look at a summary of the coping strategies we have here. Okay. Now there are many types of coping strategies, but the main ones, you have direct action and palliative. Now we will start with direct action coping strategies. Now direct action coping strategy or direct action means acting on what you can change or influence. Look at what is it that I can change in this situation? What is it that is within my power to change? What is it that I can influence as an individual, right? I will run you through a list of things that you have power over and things that you need to keep an eye on and things that you need to be honest to yourself that you are doing them right. The first one is attending as many lessons as possible. Now, I'm aware, you are aware that it's not always possible to attend all lessons. For one reason or another, it may not be possible for you to come into college or to come into university. It could be because you've fallen too ill. Health is a major part and of the major reason of people missing lessons. It could be probably that a member of family has fallen ill and you have to take care of them. Or sadly, it could be bereavement or other such things. There's a range of things that can actually affect a student's ability to attend lessons, or maybe there may be upheaval in your life, things like divorce or marital issues. Any such issues can actually affect anyone, right? And that can actually have an impact on your ability to attend classes. Okay? But as far as is possible, whenever you feel you can, please do attend. Do not just play truant. Especially when you're at university. You're an adult. You need to take responsibility. Attend lessons. If you miss lessons, then you are running the risk of not completing the program or the course successfully. And you're also getting into a habit of absence, which is not a good thing. Because remember, besides assignments and stuff like that, university is preparing you for the world of work. And you want to cultivate these habits early before you get into the world of work. Attendance is a major issue. Maybe besides that, or more importantly, you attend, you learn more. You attend, you engage more. You attend, you have an opportunity to interact with other students, which is important for your well-being. Those interactions, those relationships with people, like-minded people who are aiming for the same thing as you are, i.e. the degree. Okay? The other thing that you need to do is direct action coping strategy is pay equal attention to the learning process as you do to the learning outcomes. Do not just focus on the grade. Focus on the learning process. Actually, the learning process is more important than the grades. You get the learning process right, you engage with the learning process, then the grades will take care of themselves. People who achieve highly, or people who achieve their targets, the people who achieve goals they've set themselves, they are those who engage in the process. The process is more important than the outcome. If you take care of the process, the outcome takes care of itself. Right? If you get your learning right, outcomes are an inevitability. They may not be the outcomes that you expected, but the learning that you've gone through, the learning that you have actually engaged in, will shape your life, will shape who you are, will shape your attitudes, will shape your mentality towards a range of aspects, and hopefully they will form a fully formed, a well-rounded professional in you, which is the most important thing, which is the most important reason why you go to university, regardless of people's obsession with grades. It's the process that's important because it's shaping a human being. The other thing you need to do as part of your direct action coping strategies is starting assignments in time. Start early. I'm not going to overemphasize this. I cannot. Starting early makes sure or ensures that you do your work in good time. And when you do it in good time, you carry out the research for the assignment in good time, and you have a range of sources that you are going to use, and you also plan your work in a more logical, strategic, efficient, effective way, and that increases your chances of you attaining the grade that you are targeting. I'm not saying it's a certainty that you'll get it, but at least you increase your chances by preparing. There is a saying that those who fail to prepare to fail. By the same token, if you succeed to prepare, you prepare to succeed. Start your assignments on time. The next direct action strategy is participate in a variety of activities to strike a balance in your life. Participate in the learning process. There are other extracurricular activities going on in your university. Ensure that you join, not too many, join enough committees, clubs, extracurricular activities. You need to take care of the human being in you. You're not just a student, you're a person. A person has needs. You have the need to socialize. You have a need to actually get to know people. That's how you develop your network of people, and that will help. When you have a network of people, that will help towards your employability. Don't just be a library person. Get out there, sport, and so on. It loosens your mind, it makes it relax. You think better when your mind is relaxed. And then the next item under direct action coping strategies is do not wait for things to go wrong before you seek support. Research we did, which I referred to earlier, also found that most students, over 80% of the students, believe that support should be sought even when things are going right. If you take such an attitude that I will seek support when things are right, you actually help in preempting those issues that may become serious hindrances to your learning. You preempt them by engaging proactively with the support structures within your institutions. Do not wait for things to go wrong. Otherwise, sometimes it may be too late and damage may have started happening in your well-being. Support can be sought even when things are going right. The last item under direct action coping strategies is seek one-to-one feedback on unexpected grades. Do not go and just begin to suffer, blame yourself, blame everyone, blame the lecturer, blame the marker, blame the institution, blame the assignment. No, do not get into that spiral of blame. It's bad for your well-being. Go seek one-to-one with the person who marked your work. And when you go there, do not go there to defend your work. Go there to seek understanding. Ask, what is it that I need to do to improve? What is it that I need to do to get into the next grade band? It must be conciliatory. It must not be confrontational. Those one-to-ones do help a lot because we cannot, as human beings, sometimes see our own weaknesses. The same applies to the work that we write. You cannot always see weaknesses within your work. That's why you need to talk to the other person and find out what it is that you need to do to improve. Those one-to-ones will help you gain confidence that you can actually improve. You will also be reassured that yes, there is still hope for you even if you did not get the grade that you were expecting in this particular instance. You will still get another chance of getting the grade if you put into action what the marker is recommending, the lecturer is recommending. All lecturers want you to succeed. We want students to succeed. However, sometimes students need to understand that despite our desire for our students to succeed, the work may fall short of the standards, the criteria that have been set. Okay? But at the core of every institution, it looks good on the institution if everyone succeeded, or if everyone got high grades. But then there is what is known as academic integrity. We have an integrity to sustain. There are rigorous processes in place that ensure that work is assessed how it's supposed to be assessed. That means sometimes work can fail. Sometimes work may not get the high grade the author of the work was hoping for. It's not because we want you to fail. Never. All lecturers, everyone, every lecturer, every teacher wants their students to do well because it reflects a successful learning process that the teacher will have played a major role in. You succeed, we succeed together. We celebrate together. So we are there for you as lecturers. Every lecturer in your institution is there for you. Seek one-to-one feedback if you feel the grade you got is not what you were hoping for. Now we'll move on to the next type of coping strategies, which is called palliative coping strategies. Now this is about changing your attitudes, how you feel about certain situations, particularly if there are situations you cannot change directly. It's changing or adapting how you view things or feel about things. Do not put too much focus on likelihood to fail or likelihood of failure. That's a hindrance to learning. Don't always think, oh, I may fail, I may fail, I may fail. That's not the way to look at things. That's not the way to look at life. Give yourself a chance that you actually are there to succeed. You are there on merit. You are there because you've been enrolled on that course because you deserve it, and therefore you have as equal a chance to succeed as any other student that is there on the program. Over focus, over worry about worrying, over worry about failing, over focus on failing is a problem to you, and it's not good for your well-being. Rather, act to reduce this likelihood. If you think that what you are doing is likely to lead to failure, you need to act on it and start feeling good that the strategies that you've put in place are going to lead to you succeeding. Act on it. Even if your work fails, it is not you, but the work that has been assessed that has fallen short. Do not allow a grade to define you. Your grade should not define you. Your grade defines the quality of the work that has been assessed, not you. You are still a good student. You are still a student with potential, even if the grade you got does not reflect that. Remember, it's a process, the big picture that you need to look at. You should define your grades, what they mean to you. One student may see a grade that gets below an expected mark as a failure. Another student may view the same grade as an opportunity to learn. Be the latter. See every grade you get, every outcome as an opportunity for further learning and development. Because remember, learning is a process and is always work in progress. If you take a failing grade as a learning process, you reduce the stress you feel and aim to do better. University life is not just grades. I need to repeat this. I've said it before. University life is not just grades. It's not just about grades. Do not narrow it down to such. It is the whole experience, and grades form a small part of it. The next thing on palliative coping strategies is keep your targets real. Do not overstretch yourself. Keep them real. And those targets must take into consideration other factors that may affect your ability to actually put your best effort in the work. It may be because you're combining work and education, which is okay, but sometimes the two may be in conflict with each other. So when you set your targets, you need to bear in mind what other factors are in your life that may actually take away some of the effort that we are supposed to put into your academic work in order for you to have that balance. So keep your targets real, okay? Give a chance that these targets can be missed. Targets do not mean you have actually achieved them. They are that. Targets can be hit, targets can be exceeded, or targets can be fallen short of. Give a chance that, even the smallest chance, that that target may be missed. And be prepared that if it's missed, I'm going to dust myself down, go again, learn from the experience, and try again. There's more to life than education. Remember that. And there's more to education than just grades. See your education as a constant work in progress, which neither begins in university nor ends in university. You will still make a success of life after graduation. Education, being in university, grades are just a small part of who you are and who you can become. Keep it real, seek help, and take action where you can. And I wish you a very positive well-being in your journey as a student in higher education.